for reaction. We have Barbara Smith. She's attorney and former U.S. Supreme Court clerk. Thank you so much for joining us. What did you make of what you just heard? What do you think is really going on here as we try to decode it?
Sure. So it's not unusual for a single judge on the Ninth Circuit to call for a rehearing en banc vote. So that's what happened in this case. What that means is that both parties will file briefs on Thursday explaining whether or not they think the case should be reheard en banc, and then the active judges on the court, of which there are 29, will vote whether or not to rehear the case. If a majority votes yes, then a panel of 11 judges will in fact rehear the case.
Wow. So we have a long way to go. We don't even know that this is for sure going to happen at this point.
And you have to keep in mind that the question the en banc court would be answering is simply whether to stay the issuance of the TRO pending the appeal. So it's not even the merits of the case.
Wow. So that's a lot of effort in order to just, rule on the stay. What do you think is the best course of action if you were advising them for the Trump administration right now? A lot of people had said it would be easier to just pull back and rewrite it and start over. What do you think?
Well, sure. So there are a couple of things that the administration can do. Obviously, they can continue to pursue the merits of this appeal, file their en banc papers, see if a larger panel will rehear the case and overturn the panel decision. And they can simultaneously pursue issuing a new executive order that maybe takes into account some of the arguments that the panel included in its opinion to try and insulate a new executive order from this type of stay going forward. So they can actually do both strategies at once if they choose to.
Oh, interesting. So you according to what we heard before and to I think what you just said, you think it was one of the judges that said we should go back and consider whether or not we want to listen to this in this larger group, in this panel. Is that right? And why would one of the judges have done that?
Sure. So the news reports that I've read said that a judge on the Ninth Circuit called for an en banc vote, and that happens about 50 times a year in the Ninth Circuit. Any judge sitting in the Ninth Circuit can review a decision issued by a panel and then ask his or her colleagues whether a full panoply of 11 judges should review that. As I said, it happens about 50 times a year that a judge will call for en banc review. It happens about 1,500 times that parties themselves will ask for en banc review.
What's your guess on why they would do that, though? Do they feel like they're being too much second-guessed? Do they maybe disagree with what some of the other judges did? I mean, what's the motivation?
Sure. So there's no way to know which judge it was that called for en banc review or the motivations for doing that. It could be, for example, the judge thought the panel got it wrong. It could be that the judge thought the panel got it right, but maybe for the wrong legal reason. So there's no way to know whether if it is heard en banc, the decision of the panel will be affirmed or reversed. There's just no way to know.
Interesting. All right, Barbara Smith, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the border, German Chancellor Angela